Okay. So we're going to meditate now. The only thing meditation is doing the opposite of everything you normally do. To put it even simpler, it's just to stop doing so much. And this is why it's so uncomfortable, because our mind, our biology is trained to keep doing things to keep us safe, keep getting us the things we need. And so when we stop doing that for a second, the whole body gets a little uncomfortable. The mind, especially the mind part of the body, says, wait a second, there's things I got to do. There's things I got to protect myself from. And so we just want to remind ourselves, we chose to be here. We're in a safe environment. The ground is solid beneath us. We are protected from the elements. And we can just acknowledge that part of us that is uncomfortable with being still, uncomfortable with being quiet. Ultimately, it's uncomfortable with those two things because it's uncomfortable with not doing things. And we just acknowledge it and love that part and tell it it's safe, and don't worry, it'll get to do lots of things. And so we're taking our foot off the gas pedal of our life. And then as we get more advanced, we're taking our hands off the wheel of our life. And right now, this is what meditation is for. This is why we do it in a quiet environment as best as we can get, and we get our body still, because we're taking our hands off the steering wheel, but it's in a big, wide open parking lot. There's nobody else there. So we're totally safe for the next half hour to take our hands off the steering wheel, to pull our foot off the gas pedal, to let ourselves coast. So that's all meditation is, but because we're so addicted to mind, we usually give the mind something to focus on, to hold on to. So we'll use the breath today. If you know the breath doesn't work for you, I would suggest using another part of the body or another resource that is something that feels or is sensorily pleasant, like sound, or you could open your eyes and look at something pretty. But we're going to practice taking our hands off the steering wheel of our breath. And we can just focus on our breath coming in and out. We can help quiet the mind by using a label like breath or in, out. In, out. But we want to make sure that the breath is guiding the labeling and not the other way around. So the breath can be deep or shallow. It can be irregular or smooth. Doesn't matter. We're not controlling it. You breathe all day long without thinking about it. And so we're paying attention to that fact. We're paying attention to the fact that I don't need to control this thing. We're practicing not struggling. You'd like to live a life that's easier, right? A life with less struggle and difficulty. You have to practice that. What does it feel like not to struggle? And so you can notice, oh, wow, maybe you only notice a moment. The breath comes in and I don't have to do anything. It goes out and I don't have to do anything. Rather than letting our mind wander to all the other places where we might want to struggle, we just keep staying with the breath. And that's the concentration part of the meditation. Ultimately, the only real concentration in meditation is to concentrate on not struggling and not trying so hard. But we have these preliminary practices, which are really necessary. So we now concentrate on the breath. And we concentrate even more specifically, we concentrate on the sensations of the breath. So it comes in, but it feels a certain way right now, and right now, and right now. And we just let our breath breathe. Now, the truth is that the mind only knows how to struggle. That's all it knows. It only knows how to try and organize, fix, solve, understand. That's all it knows. There's nothing wrong with that, except that we get stuck in it. So the reason we focus in on the sensory experience is because that's before the mind gets started. The breath comes in before the mind gets started. The breath goes out before the mind gets started. We're finding our way into the present moment, the actual life of our life. The mind is the movie of a week of your life. The present moment is the life of your life. And movies of the week are very soap opera-ish and have a lot of drama. The life of your life, the present moment, is without that drama. And this is very simple. It's very simple. We're turning our attention to something real and we're letting it be the way it is. That's all we do. Our breath is real. How can you tell? You can feel it. And you can tell moment by moment what it is, exactly what it is, not what the mind says it is. You can feel exactly what the breath experience is. And that breath experience is before judgment. The mind might say, oh, I don't like this part of it, or I like this part of it, or I'm doing a good job. That's all fine and normal for the mind. But the breath is before all that. The breath is just a river winding through a forest. It goes fast in some spots, it goes slow in some spots. It's loud in some areas, it's quiet in other areas. It gets stuck in a little cul-de-sac in some areas, and it flows freely in other areas. It's wide in some areas and it's narrow in some areas. That's the reality of the river. That's the reality of the breath. And we just accept it as it is. And we're practicing not struggling. You are what you repeatedly do. And we repeatedly, from the moment we wake up until the moment we go to sleep, and then often through our dreams as well, we repeatedly struggle. And so we get really good at struggling. We get really good at fighting. We get really good at finding problems. We get good at even the process of solving those problems. But we keep finding another one. If we want a different kind of experience, we have to practice a different kind of experience. So we practice acceptance. And as with any new skill or difficult skill, it is not easy. It doesn't just happen naturally. You have to practice. Even though all you're doing is pulling your hands off the wheel, it's really hard to do that for a lot of us because it's scary. And so we pull it off the wheel, and it's like riding a bike with no hands. When you learn to do that, you pull it off for a microsecond, and then you go grab it again. Pull it off for another microsecond, and then you grab it again. Then you pull it off for a whole second. It seems like an eternity, and then you grab it again. And that's what we're practicing. One day, suddenly you realize the bike can ride without the hands on the handlebars. And you don't realize this intellectually, you realize it because you're doing it, or you're not doing it, however you want to put it. Every time we accept the present moment, every time we accept our breath or anything else we focus on, every time we accept it without judgment, every time we accept it without trying to fix it, every time we accept it without needing to figure it out, understand it, remember it, record it, we're taking our hands off the wheel for a second, taking our hands off the handlebars for a second. So we see it's a negotiation between an old habit and addiction and the emotions around it, the fear, and our inner sense of our real self, of our acceptance. And so the wisdom here is to be kind to ourselves. As we learn this new habit. But this wisdom is also driven by the present moment. And so it's really important that when you let go for a second into the present moment, that you start to notice what it actually feels like. And that might mean noticing that it's a little uncomfortable in some part of your being. But it also means noticing that there's a part that feels really good. Or a part that just feels a little bit good. A part that relaxes. A part that feels free. Without noticing this, we can't comfort the scared parts of ourselves. So we need to be able to show our entire self that letting go has benefits. Intellectually, you might have to do that at first. That's how you show up at a meditation class for the first time. Some days that's what you have to tell yourself. But ultimately, what keeps bringing people back is the direct experience of the freedom and peace of the present moment when we stop fighting with it. In, out. Practice letting that in-breath come in when it wants to come in. You can just be the waiting presence. Practice letting that out-breath go out when it wants to go out. You can just be the waiting presence. If you can even just have one full breath where you don't interfere, you should notice the response in the body. Might be subtle, but it'll be there, just a relaxation, because you're having an experience that you're not controlling, or that you don't feel like you're controlling, that you're not struggling with. And you can't say how rare that is for the human being in this day and age. It is your birthright. It's part of the way you're built to have those experiences, but we have built a civilization to take advantage of the parts of our being that like to control things. And so there are a wide variety of experiences one has when one begins meditating. The most common at the beginning is grabbing the handlebars and letting go, grabbing the handlebars and letting go, grabbing the handlebars and letting go. And it doesn't feel peaceful or relaxing at all. That's okay. The second you get a taste, it goes into your nervous system and it makes it easier the next time. And then there's some meditation sits where you feel like you've just maybe got a pinky on the handlebars the whole time. And it feels very easy, but you're still trying to control it a little bit, but it's so much easier. And I have some people here who have sat for a long time, and I know you've had the experience of really letting go for a while. And that is like bathing your nervous system in the purest, cleanest water. So for the last minute here, really take your foot off the gas and just sit. Just see, am I still doing something? Okay, well, I'm just going to sit here. And I'm going to let my mind do what my mind does. So your mind comes in and out just like your breath comes in and out. And you can let your mind arise when the mind wants to arise. And you can let the mind go away when the mind wants to go away, just like the breath. It's harder because we're so attached to it, but it works exactly the same way. And so we'll just sit here and you're letting everything, mind, sensation, body, rise and fall how it wants to, letting your attention jump around how it wants to. Trusting the movement of mind and body. You are safe here. You are safe here. You can let the robot of your body, mind, go play for a little while, and you just sit back and let it happen. Okay. So we've just been practicing a little stillness. We can slowly come out of that stillness if we want to. Nobody has to move. You're welcome to keep sitting. But also listen to your body. Don't let the mind tell you that the more you sit, the better, or whatever your mind wants to say. Maybe your body wants to move now, and this is the time to let it move if it wants to. Stillness is not, physical stillness is just part of a practice. It's not the right way to do things. So we want to let the body know that movement is also really good, a big part of practice. And we can give ourselves a hug, or we can give ourselves some love. You can stroke your face. This causes safety in the nervous system. Stroke the top of your head. Give yourself a hug. Your belly a hug. Kidneys a hug. You can stretch your neck and also look around the room as you do, coming into the present location. Looking around, looking up, looking down. Okay.